Hi everyone, it's Jennifer from Fiberflux. In this video, we're going to learn how to crochet this pretty, super easy, very elegant and luxurious little bonnet. It's simply 2 solid granny squares that we've seamed, open in the bottom, open in the front, and then I've added this very elegant satin ribbon to kind of tie it together. Again, this is super easy to do, and I'm going to show you how to do it. So let's get started. The finished bonnet measures about 6 inches across and 6 inches tall. However, if you want to make your bonnet larger or smaller, you can simply work more rounds of this granny square, and it's very easy to add on more rounds, and I'll show you how to do that as well. And then the ribbon you can make as long as you like. I made nice long tails because we're going to tie it into a very pretty bow when we're finished. For this project, you'll need a 6.5 millimeter K crochet hook, a pair of scissors, a tapestry needle, and some ribbon. I'm going to be using some 1.5 inch satin ribbon. It's double-faced. And for the yarn, I'll be using Red Heart Baby Hugs. And I did a Yarn 101 recently on this, and I'll link that up to learn more about this yarn. This is newer yarn on the market. And the color I'll be using, this is called Aloe, and it's a really pretty kind of green. You can use any color yarn, any color ribbon. I'm going to be using this kind of green and silver combination. It looks really elegant together. The bonnet is constructed by making just 2 solid granny squares and then seaming them, and then we'll add the ribbon kind of drawstring later. So I've already made 1 square. We're going to make the second square together, and then later I'll show you how to put everything together. So I have my yarn and my hook. So what we're going to do is put a slip knot on our hook. So to do a slip knot, wrap the yarn around your fingers to make a loop. Bring the yarn behind the loop, reach in with your hook, bring up the loop, and tighten. Next, we're going to chain 4. So to make a chain, just wrap the yarn around the hook and bring it through. That's 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now in the chain farthest from the hook, we're going to work a slip stitch to create a ring that we'll be working all of our stitches into. So insert the hook into the chain, bring up a loop. Now bring that loop through the loop already on your hook. And then you can kind of open it up a little bit. And that's the ring that we'll be making our stitches into. We have a tail here, and that tail we're going to weave in as we go along. So just kind of hold it along the edge as you work your stitches. Okay, so now we're ready for round 1. So to work round 1, what we're going to do is chain 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Then what we're going to do is work 3 double crochet into the center of the ring. So to make a double crochet, and let me just scoot this over a little bit. There we go. So to make a double crochet, wrap yarn around hook, insert it into the center of the ring, bring up a loop. Wrap yarn around hook, bring it through the first 2 loops on your hook. Wrap yarn around hook, bring it through the last 2 loops on your hook. So that's 1 double crochet. Again, I'm holding this tail along the edge as I work as well. So 1, 2 double crochet, and 3 double crochet. Just like that. Okay? And if you need to push your stitches over to make some space, feel free to do that as well. Then we're going to chain 2. 1, 2. Then we're going to work 3 double crochet, chain 2 once more. So 1 double crochet, 2 double crochet, and 3 double crochet, then chain 2. 1, 2. Then we're going to do that one more time. So 3 double crochet, 1, 2, 3, chain 2. Okay? Then what we'll do is work 2 double crochet in the center of the ring. Because this starting chain here, it's going to count as a double crochet plus the chain 2. So see how we did the chain 2s in between? So work 2 double crochet, 1 and 2. Just like that. Now just get a little bit more yarn. We're going to count 3 chains up. So 1, 2, 3, and then join with a slip stitch to close the round. So insert the hook into that chain, bring up a loop, bring that loop through the loop already on your hook. So round 1 is complete. Now you can kind of, these chain 2 spaces that we created, you can kind of pull them to make it look a little bit more square. But what we have now is like a little plus sign, okay? Now what I like to do at this point is to get rid of this tail, just so it's not in my way. So I'm just gonna grab my scissors and pull this tail that you wove in as you went along really, really tight. Then just snip it. And that way it'll be out of the way and you don't have to worry about it. Okay? So let's move on to round 2, okay? Okay, so for round 2, what we're gonna do is slip stitch over to this first corner here, okay? So insert your hook into that space, bring up a loop, bring that loop through the loop already on your hook. Okay, so now we are where we need to be to begin round 2. Okay, so next we're going to chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Then in this same space, we're going to work 2 double crochet. So 1 and 2. Okay, and that's going to build part of our corner. When we come back around, we'll finish up this corner. Okay, so next we're going to work a double crochet in each of the next 3 stitches. Now I wanted to mention as a side note, when you're making these solid granny squares, you're going to be working in both the spaces when you work into the corners, but when you work the sides, you're going to be working into the stitches. So just as you work, just be mindful of if you're working into the spaces or the stitches, depending on where you are in your square. Okay, so next, like I mentioned before, we're going to work a double crochet in each of these next 3 stitches across here. So at that the little hole at the top is the stitch, okay? So before we worked into the space. So we're going to work a double crochet into this first stitch, a double crochet into the next stitch, a double crochet into the stitch after that, and then we've arrived at the next corner space. So we're going to be working into the space for that corner. So we're going to work 2 double crochet, 1 and 2, and then a chain 2. 1, 2, and then 2 double crochet, all in that same corner space, that chain 2 space from the previous round. Okay, so it'll look kind of like that. Okay, we have the beginnings of our square. Okay, next we're going to work the sides. Same thing, work a double crochet in each of these first 3 stitches before you come to the next corner. So 1, 2, and 3. A double crochet in each stitch across here. Then we're at another corner. Whoops, I'm just going to get a little bit more yarn and get this square out of the way. There we go. Okay, so our corner again is 2 double crochet, 1, 2, chain 2, and then 2 double crochet, all in that same corner space, the chain 2 space. Okay. Okay, so now we're at another side. So again, just work a double crochet in each of these 3 stitches. So 1, 2, and 3. The next corner, 2 double crochet, 1, 2, whoops, let's try that again. So that was 1 double crochet, then the next double crochet, and then chain 2, and then 2 more double crochet, 1 and 2, and that will complete that corner. Starting to look very much like our other square here. Then we'll work to finish this last side that we have. We'll work a double crochet in each of these 3 stitches across. 1, 2, and 3. Then to finish off our square, we're going to work a double crochet into this corner space. So 1 double crochet in that corner space, and then this chain 5 we did at the beginning of the round, that counts as one of our double crochet chain 2. So we've already formed part of this. So count 1, 2, 3 chains up and slip stitch, work a slip stitch in that chain to close the round. Okay? So round 2 is complete and it looks great. Okay. So next we're going to move on to round 3. Now our square here has 1, 2, 3, 4 rounds, just 4 rounds. Okay, so for round 3, we're going to do the same thing we did before. We need to slip stitch over to this corner space to get in the right position so we can begin the round. So just slip stitch right into that corner space. And then we're going to chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now this round is worked very similarly to the previous round, but we're going to have more sides. So if you notice our square here, as it grows, see how this forms like a triangle? So we're going to be adding more sides each time we complete a round. Okay, so next we did a chain 5, then we're going to work 2 double crochets into that corner space. 1 and 2. Then we're going to work a double crochet into each of these sides. Side stitches. So this time there will be 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Last time there were 3. This time there are 7 in this round. Then we're at a corner. So the corners are worked the same exact way. 2 double crochet, chain 2, 1, 2, and 2 double crochet. Okay, and then we're back to our side stitches. So we're just going to work these a double crochet into each side stitch. All the way across till we arrive at the next corner. Then we're at a corner, so 2 double crochet, 1, 2, chain 2, 2 double crochet. Okay, so we're about halfway around our square. Looks really nice. And we'll work a double crochet in each stitch across now because we're on a side versus a corner. Some more yarn off our yarn ball. Just working a double crochet in each stitch across here until we get to the next corner. And then this corner we're going to work 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet. And it looks very pretty. We're making nice progress, and these are very quick to make up because we're using this larger hook and this little bit of a thicker yarn. This is a really quick project to work up. Okay, so we're just going to work the final side of round 3 all the way across, a double crochet in each stitch. And there we are at the last stitch of our side, and then we're back to where we started, and we're going to finish the round up the same way we did the last round. Okay, so just work a double crochet into that corner space and then count 3 chains up. 1, 2, 3, join with a slip stitch to close. Okay, so round 3 is complete. So let's move on to round 4. Round 4, if we hold our squares up, round 4 is our final round. Okay, so we're gonna work round 4 next. So we're just gonna do the same exact thing as the previous rounds, but again, we're gonna have more side stitches to work into because our square is growing. Okay, so slip stitch over to that corner space and chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then we're ready to begin round 4. Okay, so I'm coming up to the end of the round, and I just continued around the same way we've done through the entire square. So I just have 2 more stitches to work into my sides here. And then to finish up the corner, we're going to do the same exact thing that we've done for the previous rounds. Just work a double crochet into that corner space. And then that chain at the beginning helped establish that. So that's a double crochet, chain 2 is what that chain 5 counts as. So 1, 2, 3, chains up, join with a slip stitch to close. Just like that. Now our square is complete. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut the yarn and fasten off. Just like that. Now you can grab your tapestry needle and thread. Now if you didn't switch colors or anything, you should just have one tail left, because remember we snipped the center one. So just flip it over to the back and weave in the ends, go in one direction, come back in the other direction, and trim. Other square, and they're lining up very nicely. We're going to thread our tapestry needle and just weave in that end as well. Whoops. Now to join your granny squares together, there's a couple ways you could do it. You could slip stitch seam them. Just work a slip stitch around the edge, incorporating both squares. You could single crochet seam them, but I am going to whip stitch them together because that's going to keep it nice and flat. Okay, so we have our 2 squares. So let's fold them in. This is the front, or also known as the right side of our square. I just want to get my corners nice and sharp on both of these. This is the right side, so make the right side, both of them, make them face inward. Okay. Okay, line them up nice and neat. Now our bonnet will be open on this edge and this edge. This is where the neck goes. This is where the face goes. Okay, so we only need to seam the top edge and then the right edge. Okay, so what we're gonna do is cut a piece of yarn, maybe like 2 feet long or so, and then just thread with a tail. And again, we want to line our stitches up. You're going to go into both. So if you look at the top, these are the tops of our stitches. See how they make little V's? You're going to go into both of those loops, okay, on both squares. Okay, so I have 4 loops on my hook. So go in. Now we're starting at the bottom right corner. We're going to go up to the top right corner and then over to the top left corner. Okay, now what I want to do before I continue is to just tie this, and we'll weave this in at the end. Okay, I'm just going to tie this in a knot to get us started. Now what you want to do is sandwich them together and go in through both stitches, just like that, okay? And then we're going to do this all the way around. Go in both loops, try to get each stitch, so you're going to incorporate it. And you don't want to tug it too tightly because, whoops, you don't want to pull it too tightly because it will distort your pretty squares that you've made. So just firmly, but not too tightly, and come in both loops of your square. all the way across. Now again, this is our bottom corner, okay? I just have it turned so I can see the stitch work here. Okay, so go all the way across. I am going to go ahead and seam all the way up, and then we'll rejoin, and I'll show you how to finish this off and how to incorporate this pretty ribbon, okay? Okay, I'm just coming up to the edge here. I'm at the corner. So it's really important to try and do this as nice and neat as possible. And if you need to stop and kind of check as you go along, that's helpful also. Okay, so I'm all finished. Now before you pull this all the way through and there's a little loop there, just send your needle through the loop and it'll tie it off into a knot. Okay, so then while your needle is already threaded with the yarn, you can go ahead and just weave that in right then and there. We're already on the back side, so it's already reversed. You can just send that through to weave that in. And then come in the other side. And then you can just trim that little tail right off, okay? Now we have one more tail we have to deal with. Now I seamed, like I mentioned before, up and over, okay? So this part is open. It's starting to look more like a bonnet. Okay, so that last tail, just go ahead and thread that. Go in one direction. Come back in the other direction. Just like that, and then you can trim. Now let's turn it right side out and check out our handiwork here. So it's looking, you can kind of straighten out this seam if you need to. And because we went in both loops, it created a nice, neat, attractive seam. Okay, so this is going to be the front, and this is going to be the back. Now the sides look a little floppy right now, but the ribbon that we're going to be incorporating is going to take care of that. Okay, so let's do the ribbon next. I have here my ribbon. Let me get these yarn tails out of the way. We can slide this out of the way. All we need are our scissors and the ribbon next. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're not going to cut the ribbon first. We're going to kind of feed it through this bonnet, and then we'll cut the ribbon, because we want to make sure that it's going to be enough of what we need. And each person, depending on how big you made your squares, it's going to measure a little differently for your ribbon. So if you're using really wide ribbon, now I am using 1.5 inch wide because I wanted it to be really kind of elegant when it ties. It makes it like a big pretty satin bow, kind of luxurious looking. And this silver looks so pretty with this green. I just love it together. So anyway, what we're going to do is we want the tie to come out the front like this, okay? So when we feed it in, we're going to go to feed it in, we want to fold it in half. If you're using something narrower, you won't need to do this. But what we're going to do is go in from the front. See this corner space? So what we're going to do is feed it in just like that. And then we're going to count, I think about 3 or 4 stitches looks nice. So you can come in back up. And this can be done with your hands. You don't necessarily need a tapestry needle to feed this through. So count in a few stitches and then go back down. We're just kind of sewing with the ribbon. And then a couple more stitches and bring it back up. And we'll straighten all this out at the end. Okay, now we're in the back part of the bonnet. Just count 1, 2, 3, or 4, however many you like. If you want more of the ribbon showing, you could count like 5 or 6 stitches. Okay, so I'm just coming all the way around here and back around to the front, just weaving in and out with our beautiful ribbon. And then just bring it around. Just like that, okay? So then we're going to just estimate how much you'll need. If you need to kind of give yourself a little bit more room here, that's okay. Just kind of slide it through and then just cut the satin. And then the last thing we're going to do is kind of turn things so that it doesn't look all crumpled. We don't want it to look crumpled, or we folded it to kind of feed it through, but we don't want it to look all crumpled while it's in. So once everything's nice and straightened out, all we have to do now is kind of neaten up these ends. So if they can be the same length, that would be ideal, or close to it. And what I ended up doing was kind of folding this as it was woven through, and then once it comes out the bottoms, it's just wide again. So if you kind of cut your ribbon, I'm going to keep these kind of long because it looks very elegant, but if you kind of cut your ribbon at a slight angle, it'll make it look nice and neat and professional. So just neatly trim your ribbon at a slight angle like that. And I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing for the other side. Just a slight angle. You don't want it to be too pointy. Just a little bit. Whoops, that looks a little messy. So we can just redo that. Much better. Okay. So then your Ava bonnet will be finished, and it looks very beautiful. And when worn this way, when the bonnet is on, you can tie this in a sweet little bow. So that's it. That's how you crochet the Ava bonnet. It's so easy, so quick, and a great project for a beginner as well if you have a little gift that you'd like to give. Thanks so much for watching, and be sure and click the subscribe button to get all the latest Fiberflux video updates. Thanks again.